to Silva. He's going to talk about his experience in Australia. I won't give too much away, but Bruno, take it from here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I went to Australia through the Science Without Borders program. I did research projects there. I won't talk about neither of those things during this presentation. If you want to ask questions or something like that, you can ask at the end of the presentation. I'm going to talk more about the humanitarian aspect of going to another country. I'm going to talk about my experience in Australia. When we talk about going abroad, going to a different land full of weird animals, you may think that I'm talking about Pokemon. And you're sort of right, but the journey in this case is called going abroad, and the Pokemons, well, you all have been there, you know the weird animals that we face. When everyone goes abroad, we face the same battles. We face the same issues. We face language barrier, culture shock, and homesickness. And these three battles are shared, I think, that among most people that go to any country, it's not just Australia. For the first battle against language barrier, it was a bit hard. Once I arrived in Australia, at my first day, I had to get a taxi. I called the taxi, the driver was Indian. I entered the taxi, and the guy asked, "Where to, my friend?" I learned English through series and video games. I could only understand American accent and a little bit of British accent. So once he asked that, I could only think, oh my God, I was not trained for that. I need to go back. I can't talk to people. But then he tried to talk. I had to ask him to repeat several times what he was saying. At the end, we could sort of talk. He was a fun guy, at least from what I could understand. And then I knew that I had to improve my English. But I was a bit embarrassed to talk to people. I mean, they wouldn't understand me. I could say something that they wouldn't like. I didn't know the culture. But I thought it myself. I'm in the other side of the world. No one will ever know if I say something embarrassing. So I did what every sane person would do in my situation. I joined a theater company. I joined this company. I got this role as a barista. And while I was looking for a company, while I was looking for this company, for some company, I entered many websites. I started to talking to people. I went to many auditions. And then when I went to those auditions, I think I was more afraid to pass than to be rejected. Because if I passed, I would have to go on stage. If I went on stage, I'll have to speak. But anyway, I was on the other side of the world. No one would ever know if I say something embarrassing. So I just went on. I took the risk. I tried to expose myself. And then I went on the auditions, and I got this role on this play called Cara Carissima. We presented the Canberra Theatre. It was awesome. There are good critics. There are bad critics. While we were rehearsing, before every rehearsal, the director would go through each line with me, and she would help me to pronounce each word on an understandable manner. My accent was so much harder than it is now, so much harder. And she would say, no, you should pronounce this word like this, not like that. What are you saying? I'm saying this. No, you're not. You're saying other thing. And we went on. The place was good. I mean, I felt great. But the most important thing that I took from this play was that I was starting to get used to both the Australian accent and to talk to people, to expose myself, to be there. Okay, maybe not everyone is into some weeks after arriving in a weird country, on a different country, getting into a stage and have dozens of people watching you. But maybe you're into poetry. And the poetry reading group would be a good thing for you. You would start to know people that share the same interest. For the same battle against culture shock, it was a bit harder. When we get there, everything is a novelty. So it takes some time for you to feel this culture shock. Everything is great, everything is new. Oh my God, that kangaroo, that possum. And during this time, I made several Brazilian friends, because that's what we are looking for, some familiarity, something to be part of, some group that you share some things. There was this apartment with around 8 Brazilians, and everyone was living together. It was like our little island. It was so good, so comfortable. We had similar backgrounds. We had similar things to talk about. It was hard to connect with the locals. They had a different mindset. So I stayed with my Brazilian friends. I went to Brazilian parties. And then I realized I was not living in Australia. I was living on a Brazilian bubble in Australia. I love my Brazilian friends. I really do. But I couldn't keep living like that. It was really comfortable. But I was on the other side of the world. What was the point of going to Australia if I would live my life as a Brazilian? So I went to uni and joined as many students' associations as I could. I went to the Entrepreneurship Society, the Mental Health Committee, the Latin America Students Association, but the best one by far was the Kabuki Theater Society. I've talked to some of you. I love theater, as I told everyone. And for those who don't know what kabuki is, it's a Japanese style of theater. They use a lot of makeup, traditional sound effects from 5,000 years ago or something like that. No, not that far. Anyway, they use specific sound effects to present their play. And generally, a traditional play takes like 6 hours to be presented, one play, divided in 3 acts of 2 hours. You have to go 3 times to theater because they only present an act each time. Anyway, I went to this club, and I don't speak Japanese. Nothing at all. But everyone there was friendly. And I said, okay, I'm on the other side of the world. I may never have another opportunity to be part of a production like that. Let's go for it. And I started making friends. I started to learning some konnichiwas, some arigato. And we went on. We went on the rehearsals. I made friends. I met many Aussie people. Most of them were studying Japanese. There were not many Japanese there, but they were studying, so I could learn both cultures at the same time. And then once the coordinators of the group called us, and they said, hey guys, we were supposed to present only at the university theater, but there is an opportunity for us to present our play in Japan, in the cities of Kisenoma, Akita, and Ishinomaki. I think that I said yes before he finished. When he said Japan, I said yes! And then we went there. We presented our play in Japan as sort of a group, the only group outside of Japan that went to Japan to present kabuki. We were sort of local celebrities on some cities. We were on some newspapers. When we were on convenience stores, people would come to us and said, oh, you are the Kabuki Society. I couldn't understand because they were talking Japanese, but then other people told us, arigato, arigato. And daijoubu. When you go to Japan, just say daijoubu, no matter what happens. Daijoubu. Okay, they will, okay. I have no idea. And then, okay, we were sort of local celebrities. It was great. I met Japan through uni, as part of university, as part of extracurricular activity. But there's more. When we came back, due to this activity, we were invited to have dinner at the Japanese ambassador's house in Canberra. I don't have words to describe the food there. I have pictures, though. It was awesome. I mean, I was just trying to meet other people. I was just trying to leave my comfort zone. And then I end up in Japan. I end up having dinner at the ambassador's house. Just because I wanted to meet different people and know a little bit of Australian culture. The third battle, though, against homesickness, it was the hardest one. I'll be honest with you, it's unbeatable. You can't beat homesickness. You get used to it. You deal with it, but you can't beat it. It generally takes 3 to 6 months for someone to get homesick, to feel like the heavy weight of homesickness. For me, it took 3 weeks. Just to contextualize, 3 weeks after I arrived in Australia, I had to undergo surgery. I had a little accident. I had to go to the hospital, and I can talk about this later. I had insurance, and the hospitals there, the healthy policy there is great, so I didn't have to worry about my health. I didn't have to worry about money, but I didn't have anyone to make soup for me I didn't have anyone to tuck me in. I had just moved from my homestay to a share room. I was meeting people there. I didn't know anyone. And I couldn't tell my mom, because if I told her, she would get the next flight and come to Australia. She would be there by lunch. It's a 29-hour flight, but she would figure out time travel to get there faster. And I knew she would do it. That's why I couldn't tell her, because I couldn't do it to her. And then I had to deal with it. I spent 3-4 days at my bed. I had an exam. I went to the exam with the stitches, and I did it, and it was okay. Yeah, it's weird. And I had ups and downs. This was, I think, my lowest point on my experience, but I had ups and downs. After that, there was my birthday, Christmas, my sister's birthday, New Year's Eve, Easter, my mom's birthday, my dad's birthday, and I had to deal with it. Ups and downs, all the way until I came back. What helped me was the Brazilian comfort zone, the comfort island that I mentioned before. But as I said, I couldn't stay there. What would be the point of staying there? What really, really helped me was to keep me occupied all the time. Do you remember the many student associations, the theater company, the Kabuki Theater Society? All of this helped me to keep me occupied. I was never stationary. If I was occupied, I would have time to think about what I missed from home, and I couldn't. If I did it, I don't think I would keep it together. And even during my vacations, according to the scholarship, the Science Without Borders program, I couldn't go back to Brazil. And I had to do something. I decided to volunteer. So I went to India, to a village called Gorubatan. In this village, there was this NGO called Himalaya Media Welfare Society. This NGO was focused on two things. I don't know the word, improve, not improve, to erase, end woman traffic, because I don't know if improve woman traffic would be a good expression. Anyway, and to help the community around them. I couldn't work with woman traffic, because I'm a male, they wouldn't feel comfortable. So I tried to work with improving the community around them. I worked with children. Here, the surgery, the children. I work with these children, teaching science, trying to teach a little bit of English. The funny thing is, I don't speak Nepali. It's in the frontier between India and Nepal. I don't speak Nepali, I don't speak Indian. They don't speak English, don't speak Portuguese. And it was interesting. I mean, we had a lot of mimics. I developed a lot of body language. But in the end, they could understand, they learned a bit of English. We could communicate, very rudimentarily, but we could communicate. And also, they were learning the concepts that I was telling them, that I was trying to teach them. They could learn math, like the numbers are equal almost everywhere around the world. So they could understand this. And these activities are what helped me to cope with homesickness. And I did all of this, and I came back. I did all their stories. I have many more stories from my time in Australia that I could share with you, but it would take more time. And then I came back. When I came back, I didn't have much to do. I didn't have any, any programmed thing. So I tried to improve my community somehow. I had to do something. I had so much experience. I had passed through so much. I had to spread it somehow. So I tried to look into my university and what I could do to my university. I looked into student associations. I joined a student association called Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society. And when I entered this student association, I started talking to companies. I started to help building partnerships between companies and the university. We started to make social projects. One of the projects is we are trying to build prostheses for underprivileged children. We have another project that's related to this one, that we optimize the prostheses using genetic algorithms and topology to make it more affordable, to use less material. And we did this not just because of myself, but I was part of it. I was feeling like I was making difference. I was feeling that I was not just improving myself, I was improving the community around me. And when I brought this with me, I brought this mindset, this thing of taking risks, this mindset of, okay, I was in the other side of the world. No one will know what I'm doing. No one is counting on my mistakes. No one is marking my mistakes down. Only I am doing that. When I brought this mindset here, I could do so much more. When I realized that I was the only one who was keeping track of what I was doing. No one was caring if I don't know, I spoke something wrong, or if I don't know how to say gafe in English, but if you say something embarrassing, if you are talking to a company and the company doesn't like you or whatever, you wouldn't even have the chance to have this partnership if you didn't go to them. So this mindset of taking risks and expose myself is I think is the most important thing that I could bring with me from Australia. We had this cultural exchange. We could learn how to talk to other cultures. We understood that they are not, the assumptions that we do, we cannot do for ourselves. We cannot do for other people because each one is different. Each one has a different background. So once you understand that the things that you assume or are not necessarily true for everyone, you start to take risks because you just don't know. You only know if you try, if you say the thing. If you are thinking, okay, the person might think that I am stupid if I say that. You don't know. You don't know the person. You don't know the person's background. You don't know the person's culture. Each of us have gone to a different city, to a different university. If I say, I don't know, g'day. If I say g'day to someone from USA, they would probably not understand or understand and think that we are Aussies, but no, we are Brazilians. So the assumption that they made are wrong. So we cannot stop ourselves from taking risks, from exposing ourselves based on thinking that we will be embarrassed, based on thinking that the person may not feel comfortable. Of course, there are limits, but we have common sense. But when we think that we will not do this because we will be embarrassed, that's when we stop growing. That's when we stop innovating. Because innovation is doing what no one did before. And if you are not doing if you are keep doing what you know it's gonna, how can I say that? If you keep doing what you have learned that you should do, you'll never innovate. You just follow the same pattern, which is not wrong, it's just a different approach from life. So the message that I want to leave here is take risks, expose yourself, take as much as you can from any situation. It doesn't matter if you are going to Malaysia or to USA, I don't know. It doesn't matter if you are watching a workshop about prosthesis, in my case, or if you are watching an opera. Take as much as you want, as much as you can from any situation. You'll never know, you may end up at the ambassador's house having dinner. And I think I went very fast, but thank you everyone. I had a lot of other things that I had rehearsed, but they just slipped through my mind. Do you have anything to ask, to compliment, or something like that?
It's just a simple question. You said you had a surgery, and I would like to ask you what about the hospital floor? So it was that a carpet? Because I had a surgery as well over my period in Australia, and the floor in the hospital was covered by carpet, like this one. And for me, for a Brazilian person, this was something shocking. But yeah, I would like to ask about your hospital.
I'll be honest with you, I was in a lot of pain at that moment. I didn't look at the ground. I didn't look at the floor. But I just remember when we entered. When we entered, there were, how can I say, azulejo?
Tiles.
Tiles. There were tiles I was passed out at that moment. But at the entrance, as far as I could see, there were tiles, and that's as far as I can tell you.
So after the surgery, you
There were tiles. There were tiles.
Really?
Yes.
I got hit by a car in Australia, and I got hit by a car in Australia, and I went to the hospital too, and the floor was a regular floor.
I can't believe
not carpeted. Yeah.
Any other questions besides hospital floors?
Someone wants to share an experience or something?
To share experience.
Do you have another question?
No, just to share my I've got two babies, yeah. So not in Perth, nor the hospitals I've been in, like 3 of them, none of them had carpets. Yes, it was renewal.
Okay.
Are you still in contact with people from the theater?
Are you still in
I
contact
keep
with
in
people?
contact with people from Kabuki Theater Society. Many of them I still talk to, and they are still doing what they were doing with other plays, with other. They didn't go to Japan, as far as I knew, to present anymore. So this was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but they keep doing this cultural exchange. I will. That's a good thing. It's just, well, I'll try. Talk to the Japanese embassy here.
This highlights something. You're super brave to do what you did, and you're a good example that science without borders works for.
Thank you.